Youth of Purpose.
A very beautiful evening today. I welcome you all to this wonderful show. My name is Mujisha Emanzi, and I'm going to be the host today for the Youth of Purpose show. Joining me today is a brilliant panel of young, enthusiastic, and I should say, very interesting young people. We are going to be discussing the rise of the Gen Zs as a force to reckon with in the new democratic landscape in Africa. I'm very pleased to host the show, and without any further ado, I'd like my panel to introduce themselves from my extreme left to right, and then we shall take it on from there. Miracle, please take it away.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Nasazi Miracle, currently serving as the 91st Deputy Guild Speaker at Macquarie University, a passionate young leader and growth enthusiast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Wonderful. Thank you for that brief and concise introduction.
Our dear viewers, it's a good evening. I'm Edwin Akandwanaho, and I'm the LOC5 Councillor in Ntungamo District, who doubles as the former Students Affairs of Ntungamo District Youth Council, and the chairman of Itojo Sub-County, down deep there in the village of Ntungamo. It's a pleasure to be on this panel, and I expect free interaction, and we shall have the best show. Thank you so much.
The best show, you say, and indeed, the best show we're going to give the country. Thank you for your introduction, Edwin. Yes, my next.
Hi, everyone. A good evening. My name is Kanya Rachel Peace, an activist. I'm so glad to be on the show. Thank you.
It's a very big pleasure to host you, Kanya Rachel Peace, an activist, a youth activist at that. We appreciate you accepting our invitation and look forward to your resourcefulness. So, kicking it off, we've had a bunch of issues that young people have been complaining about. And one of them has been young people being left out. Young people claim that they do not have the opportunity, the space, the infrastructure, and sometimes the opportunity to express their grievances, to communicate their aspirations, or rather, communicate what their dreams are. And because of that, we've seen very many young people in this context that we're going to call the Gen Zs, the Generation Z. For context, Gen Zs are the people or the children that were born between the year, anybody knows that?
1994
to
2000.
Yes, so between the children that were born between 2004 and 2019. So we want to understand what are some of the barriers, what are some of the opportunities there is for the young people to explore, and most importantly, what should young people focus on mainly to ensure that they are part of a new leadership structure that accommodates their views, aspirations, and interests without having to first fight, without having to first hurl terrible words on the internet, and without having to first burn the midnight oil. So to start with you, Miracle, from your experience as a youth leader, especially one that is at Macquarie University serving as a leader, I'd like to think that there are a couple of challenges that you meet on an individual level, but also with the group that you represent. So what do you think are some of the systemic barriers that have barred young people from expressing themselves to the duty bearers for them to at least have their voice heard and something done about it?
Thank you so much, Amanzi, for that question. The systematic barriers that the young people face, I might say, are quite many. But I will say, first of all, some are maybe not having a fair representation. Many times, we are very many, but maybe the opportunities to effectively represent, to effectively lead, to effectively participate, to effectively, dive into different critical issues are very few, and that leaves the young people at a less chance to really voice out their concerns. Many a times there are issues such as I would say, first of all, the Gen Zs, we are very energetic, we are very vibrant, we are very vocal, we want the attention, and sometimes that is sort of confusing us or sort of diluting our attention or what we should focus on. Many a times, as young people, I believe we should have opportunities to, first of all, learn, to first of all get better, to first of all build capacity. But many times we don't trust the process. Many times we are quick to, chase opportunity. We are quick to chase chances. We are quick to do a lot of things, and that maybe sometimes we underperform. Many a times we are not trusted. Many a times we really are not. People don't believe that we are capable enough at some point. And the other problems could be. You could say maybe the nature, the systems that we work in. Sometimes age is taken as a very, very big factor. If you're very old, you are very experienced. If you're very old, you're too capable. But I mean, you might be very old and very capable, but looking at the generation, there are a lot of things that are changing. There is technology. How can you use these young people who are very vibrant, who have skills in that area? So I think the systematic barriers are there. Some are sort of individual, some are sort of behavioral. But yeah, I would say those are some of the issues that are in play.
I really appreciate you when you say that some of the systemic barriers are individual. This points to the point when some time back General Museveni was saying that now it's going to be illegal for people to be poor in Uganda because now poverty is a choice, they say. However, when you look at the bigger picture, you realize that when we are looking at aggregate input of individuals, it becomes extremely difficult to generalize it. And thank you very much for bringing out that point, and I think we're going to extrapolate more on that as we go on in this conversation. So, Peace, I'd like to understand something from you. When the young people start saying, no, we are tired of this, we want this. However, most of the avenues of diplomatic engagement have been either stifled, blocked, or compromised. The Gen Zs, the group that was born between 1995 and 2009, they always look for alternatives, like going to the streets. Others use the ICT or the internet to express their frustrations, sometimes using, technical words. What do you think would be the most convenient way for the young people of Africa, especially the Gen Zs, to communicate their grievances to the powers that be and have their grievances highlighted, tackled, and worked on in a more sustainable way that we are yet to see consistently in Africa? I'd like to pick your brains on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You've asked what would be the most diplomatic way. But you see, I want you and my fellow panelists to agree that in Africa, it's like diplomatic talks.
I'd like to know the
Okay, yield nothing at all. You'll have these diplomatic talks today, tomorrow, the other day. But one thing I've realized is that the leaders that we have in Africa at large realize the weaknesses of the youth. So they know the youths are really more of unemployed, should I say the biggest percentage of the Gen Zs are not financially well. So there will be, whenever you come out to say maybe we need to have peace talks, we need to do this, you need to do this, they will call you, sit on the table. But do you know what will happen? Whatever you discuss will end in the documented minutes. When it comes to action, you and I know what happens. So I think it's because of that we see the youth on the streets hitting one another, maybe trying to destroy people's property, on Twitter spaces, on social media handles, trying to do that. Actually, the right way or the diplomatic way would be the leaders bringing the youth on the table, listen to their issues and implement their issues. Because the youth, the Gen Zs feel like they're kind of distanced away. So even if they raise their voices are not being heard. And they feel they want their voices to be heard. How are their voices going to be heard? It's by them being brought on the table, them being put on, not just tables, but the discussion tables. Behind those rooms, they also need to enter those rooms where decisions are made. They also want to feel like, yes, we were part of this policy, and we are seeing this policy being implemented. I'm so sure they will all be happy to see something they engaged in more, something that they really wanted to see happening, and it's the right thing that is happening. So the right way, the diplomatic way, and the best way, as according to me, would be having their issues heard, put into action, and also having them. Actually, it would be much more better when it's the Gen Zs themselves implementing these policies or these issues. Because, for example, if the issue is unemployment, and the Gen Zs are telling you, please, we are jobless, but here we are presenting maybe our qualifications to you. We are presenting our ideas to you. Please try to look for ways of having us on board to say, because there's no way you're going to tell me this, we're going to be jobless until. I mean, they've also tried their best. People keep saying maybe they're not trying their best. I'm so sure no one wants to be unemployed. Everyone wants to have money in their pocket. So it's because everyone wants to have money in their pocket that we see some people robbing others, because they've tried the right way of getting money and they failed. I'm not supporting that. Of course. But I'm trying to say, if we have these youths on board and they present their issues to you, if I tell you that so and so is unemployed and maybe a biggest number of the youths are unemployed, and you are the person in, let me say you are the minister of the youth in Uganda, or you are in charge of the youth in Uganda, please do something about it. Get to know what are the other solutions, or what is the alternative you have to see that these people are also catered for and not being left behind. Because the youth or the Gen Zs feel like they are really left behind and the leaders are not doing anything about it.
And I can feel the frustration even in a voice, because when you talk about the issue of youth unemployment, it is something that it's a cancer that has been eating away at the youth for the last very many years. And we've tried all interventions. We have used the chemo of Youth Livelihood Fund. We are yet to ascertain. We are now on the PDM, where we are being encouraged as young people to join the money economy. And I like the fact that you hint on the fact that there is a problem of youth unemployment and youth not having their issues reaching the decision-making table. And what I pick from your submission is that as long as the young people are not on the drawing board, we are still going to be going back in circles of, oh, young people don't have jobs, or young people are going to the streets to, to protest. And that cycle becomes very monotonous to the point that now it loses function, right? Because even when the youth now go on the street to protest for you, it's not going to bring the jobs. So the question should be, how do young people get access to that national cake sharing table? Unfortunately today, we are lucky to have a youth leader that sits on the table where they share the district cake. Ladies and gentlemen, Comrade Edwin is going to help us identify how easy is it for young people that have gotten the opportunity to sit on those tables. Edwin, when you're on those tables, do you as a young person actually make propositions that are hard? And if they don't hear the proposals that you make as the representative of the young people, what alternatives should we as the youth, the Gen Zs, deploy to make sure that we send one Edwin as our chairman at the district to represent our views? If our views were not represented, if Edwin represented our views, but they have not worked on them, what do we do? Edwin, share with us.
Thank you so much. And our dear viewers. About that one, first of all, we have tried to raise our voices so that our youth can really be heard. We know the challenges of the youth from the grassroots as far as village. And we have tried to address these issues. But one of the problems that we have, it all starts with how our system is. I'm sorry to say, but I will say we have a failed system. It's so harsh, but it's a harsh word, yes?
Yes.
But we have a failed system, whereby the system is masterminded by a certain group of people. Note that we have a system that is working for itself, whereby at time we raise voices in those councils, but when they know that this youth council of ours is going to raise a certain issue, and the issue that is going to raise maybe has a big influence on what we are trying to pass, or in the budget implication, they try to really turn you down by either muting the microphone or maybe by saying, no, we should not really have this person speak out. That is one issue. Again, our politics have also become too expensive to an extent that at times we send leaders in our councils that have invested a lot in these elections and have not gone there to offer services. The moment you send such kind of people, you don't expect them to be so active in these councils and not to fully represent the ideas of the youth.
Okay.
So you find they have gone there just as, I will call them as sculptures, to just finish their 5 years term of office, see how best they can get the money they invested into the election. Now, we are going into an election whereby Ntungamo district, as Ntungamo district, we have 135 sub-parishes. Personally, I have over now 3,000 voters. You get how overwhelmed the election may be.
Of course.
And as a growing youth, you expect, you want something like 880 millions to pass into this election. You get the monetization that has been into our election. So when I say a failed system, hope most of you could really understand what I'm trying to say. But nevertheless, it is not that we are blowing this out of proportion, but we are trying to really see how best we can navigate all these issues. And maybe you can see how to really be into the same thinking as the whole country and as the youth.
And before you wrap up, Edwin, I wonder, so does that mean that we as the young people, we are learning from our leaders unscrupulous ways of, one, capturing power, maintaining power, but most importantly, what you do within that power? If it is not service delivery, and I'm trying to recoup the money that I invested, is that now leadership? And then, if the Gen Zs go out to protest this nature of leadership, are they not justified in the eyes of God?
Of course they are justified, and they are actually spot on when it comes to that issue, because it is now the type of the election and the politicking and the leadership that we have. Most of our leaders, we aim at consolidating ourselves in power. That is the kind of the Africa that we kindly have. That's why I said we have a failed system compared to outside countries which are outside our country, no, outside Africa. They have a working system that is not in Uganda. In Uganda, it is someone maintaining himself in power or the government maintaining itself in power other than the system working itself.
Wow. Thank you so much for those observations and the fact that you come from the district as a representative of the youth of Ntungamo district. I cannot thank you enough for giving us that insider intel of how sometimes if you're going to talk about something that is sensitive and it has budgetary implications as a young person, many a time you're stifled, they block you from speaking, and sometimes the microphone is muted, like they said. And when I hear such things, I start wondering, this is the year 2025. Our democracy is about 50 years old, and when we still have those, that means that indeed the recipe for disaster is there. That caveat, that indiscipline that we see in councils, ministries, agencies, institutions. But now when it comes back to that individual, because now what we're talking about there is the collective. I want to pick your brains on this miracle. Should we expect a miracle to happen so that the young people of Africa can actually partake in leadership, mainstream leadership, not as participants, but as major contributors? I say this because today, the 5th of November, Mamdin was voted as the mayor of New York City. He's 35 years. This gentleman grew up here in Kampala, here in Buziga. Yeah, he was even a rapper. I watched one of his rap videos. And the reason I'm saying this is because he mentioned to those outside countries, it is not like that, because they have a system where if you have the idea, you can mobilize, you can convince people about the brilliance of your idea. You can actually get support and capture power. And then that means that you, by default, become accountable to the people that have voted for you, right? So my assumption is that Mamdin has been voted for by the people of New York, right? And if you look at it, he's Muslim, right? Of Asian descent. But that shows that even with all these people have embraced democracy in its fullness. So aspects like diversity, aspects like gender representation are all consolidated. So, miracle. What miracle should we design? And when should we expect it? Because it's long overdue.
What miracle should we design? I think a miracle could be quite hard. I'm sure change is worked for. Change, I don't want to say it's bled for, but sometimes there is a cost. And many a times, I don't think we should expect a miracle, honestly. I think we should stand up for what is right. I believe peaceful protesting is okay. The problem is the outcomes, maybe things going bizarre. But at the end of the day, it is allowed for anyone, constitutionally allowed for anyone to stand up and say, I'm not agreeing with this. I am not agreeing with that. And the nature of Uganda, the nature of Africa is that many times it's the people to sail the leaders into the direction they want. They do not, at the end of the day, like many of our panelists have said their input, many times they're going to do what is convenient for them, they're going to do what is okay for them. At the end of the day, it is up to you as the young people. It is up to you to stand up for your rights. Because if we say, let's say for Uganda, we have very many as a young people, 70%. And if you're not fully represented in leadership, you're not fully represented in policy, we are not fully represented. We don't have a seat at the table. We do not have, we don't have a role. Many times we've seen young people majorly as mobilizers. They are there to mobilize. For you, what you can do is to mobilize, make noise.
Chant,
yes.
Be on the tracks.
Yeah, but when it comes to actually influencing policy, at the end of the day, we've seen many countries that have stood up You see what happened in Kenya. The government says we want to increase tax, we want to do this, and the young people say no. How do you increase tax on necessity, on basic needs? And they stand up, and things change. We've seen things in let's say, is it Morocco? We've seen things in Madagascar. So like at the end of the day, for Africa, we do not expect a miracle. For Africa, it might call for force. For Africa, it might call for revival. It might call for, a tug of war. Maybe we need to approach it in a peaceful way. Maybe we need to approach it in a more organized way. But at the end of the day, it is force. This is at times when the leaders listen. This is a time when people say, hey, these guys are serious. These people are tired. So at the end of the day, I don't think we should expect a miracle. We should stand up. We just need to restructure. How should we do it? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to lose 700 people. You don't want to lose lives. So at the end of the day, we just need to know, how should we do it? How should we get the seat at the table? How should we construct change? How should we, be fully represented?
I think miracle, just hold your horses right there. When you mentioned that, it intrigues my memory. And I remember that in 1995, when the Constituent Assembly was formulated, they deliberately formed the National Youth Council, the Women's Council, and all these other special interest groups for the same reason that you've mentioned, that can we have young people represented at the decision-making table, right? So do you think, from your submission, it drives me to think, does that mean that the current representatives of the youth are yet to deliver on the aspirations of the young people? Because we have the National Youth, a fully fledged National Youth Council. We have a fully fledged Uganda National Students Association, UNSA. We have a fully fledged Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, which hosts the Youth Secretariat, I should say. But also, we have slots for youth representatives for members of parliament. So, and they also have the Uganda Parliamentary Youth Forum, right, which streamlines and harmonizes all the interests of the young people to the legislature. Now my question is, should we debunk what we have? Should we restructure the representatives that we have if they got compromised along the way in areas of, say, patronage, like he was mentioning, the system being, counter-revolutionary? I'm trying to think, if we have these people that are representing the young people, but the views of the young people are not reaching there, do we sit and say, hey, as that structures we as we have MPs, but nothing is changing? Such as tufanyeje, what do we do? And that is why I was asking, what is that miracle? You mentioned and say, force, sometimes they listen to force. But even this force, how do we structure it to make sure that, one, it is sustainable and it will deliver us out of Egypt?
That is a very wonderful question and questions. From the special interest groups, the youth forums, I want to go back to how these young people are selected in the first place.
Thank you.
We've seen those elections the whole of this year. We've seen it was not a fully democratic process. At the end of the day, the interests of the young people were not represented. The people they wanted to vote for were not the ones that are voted for. So at the end of the day, yes, it is there. Yes, the institutions are there, but they are not fully representing what the young people want. We are seeing manipulation. We are seeing voter bribery. We are seeing a lot of issues that just tell you that this is not what the young people actually want. Yeah. So at the end of the day, they are there, but that is not what the young people call for. Now, at the end of the day, if we want to structure how we should approach representation, I think it should go back to civic awareness.
Yes.
Civic awareness. How do you use the internet? Can we form coalitions? Can we form cross-border, coalitions that strengthen us? Let me give an example of Kenya. Let me draw from that example. I believe the way they approached maybe the revolution was maybe chaotic, but yet at the end of the day, it is sort of a unison approach. They come together, they agree that this is what we should do. So at the end of the day, it is for the young people to first of all get together. we have a lot of divisions as young people. Some people believe should change. Some people are saying, let's side with whatever is happening. So at the end of the day, we need to have a unified approach. What side are we on? Are we siding with change? And how do we side with it? How do we approach it? Which organized way? Do we form associations? Do we form forums? Do we demand for, do we demand for accountability? Do we call and say, today we are going to march to Parliament, but before we march to Parliament, we want you to come and listen to us because of this and this. So at the end of the day, I think it is more of us being united, have one voice, and then find a way to approach the issue.
Wonderful. That's a very wonderful submission, because at the epicenter of it, I detect something called organizing. Every institution, revolution, or change is based on the nucleus of organizing. And on this show, we have, I don't know the English word, Twinengombo. It says, African youth, organize, don't antagonize. And from your submission, I'd like to pick your piece. Now that you are an activist, and Miracle has been talking about how we as the Gen Zs, the young people in Africa, need to start organizing themselves on a unison agenda, right? To have something, an aspiration that we are all targeting for, if it is to streamline our democratic dispensation, if it is to fight corruption, if it's for youth unemployment, it can't be a one-man army job, right? We need to create those collaborative synergies within Uganda and probably the region and the continent. So as an activist, we've seen actually people, youth that have organized, but they've gotten compromised along the way, all right? Others just lost the steam because of what they faced, probably injunctions, indictment, arrests, and from the powers that be. So, please, I would like to pick from you as an activist. What tricks or techniques or ideals should we deploy to ensure that as young people, as we are organizing to push for a cleaner, clearer, and more transparent democratic landscape, what should we do that will not land us, one, in harm's way, two, that is sustainable, and three, where some of our young people will not be compromised and they abandon the struggle? Because for all that I know, this struggle is for a lifetime until change happens. So how better should the young people of Africa, stroke Uganda, organize themselves, in your opinion?
Thank you. Now, you've asked me for the tricks on how youth can organize themselves to have their issues addressed. I will not differ much from what Miracle said. Uganda being my case study, I want us to agree that in Uganda, just like Miracle said, we have different categories. We all need to agree that not all youths are one.
Yeah.
We are in different worlds. We have a class of youth that have no problem with the issues that are affecting. For example, if my issue was corruption, and it's the problem that is affecting me, and his issue was lack of accountability, was unemployment, and her issue was to do with poor service delivery, maybe in health sectors and all that. You will find there is a youth that is earning 5 million or 10 million per month. So you telling that youth the issue of unemployment to join you, and you go on streets and maybe you fight against you fight for employment opportunities, it's really not going to work out for him. Then me coming to fight for corruption, and then I'm telling the other youth that is earning maybe 5 million a month that, you know what, we need to end corruption in our country. And probably this person is practicing corruption, or probably the parents of this person or this child are and those big offices that we are trying to shake. You get? This person is benefiting. So that's what I said. We have different youth categories and we shall never be united, believe me or not. Let me give you an example. In Uganda, was it last year, it was on 23rd July, something like that. I beg to be corrected. When should I say few youths, because we're not that many, we saw it took a whole month of mobilization. If you are following online
conversations.
Yes, conversations. We saw that people were mobilizing for this strike. It almost took a whole month, and we're all like, 23rd, we are doing what has happened in Kenya. Gen Zs come and we bomb the streets, what and what. We are marching to parliament. How many people showed up? There were very few, and other youths were even carrying their laptops, going to offices, driving their cars, parking outside, and others even calling the police to come and remove these people because they had blocked the roads. You get?
Yes.
Meaning you are in this alone. Honestly, in Uganda there is a slogan that says you are serious alone, right? So the issue that is affecting you is affecting you alone and not with the other person. So even if you request for help from the other person and then the other person is a beneficiary, you will not get that help. So that takes me back to Miracle's statement of unless we are united, but we are not. If we have different youths amongst us as the youths in Uganda, that will never happen. What you saw in Tanzania will not happen in Uganda come 2026 if we are not united. What you saw in
But we don't want that to happen anyway.
Yeah, and we don't want it to happen.
Yeah,
honestly, we don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming if the number of youths, I mean, we already see this thing after elections, and everyone is like, so who really won the elections? You get? Because everyone is coming out to say, no, we didn't vote, you get? And these are the youths. So you ask them, where were they? That's why we have this saying of social media users are not the real people. The reality on ground is not what we have on social media. You will have so many people on social media following you, thinking that's the reality of what is going to happen on ground, but it will not be the same thing. On ground, be lalamu. So when you say what tricks, especially for Uganda, unless we are united, which I don't see happening.
But please, maybe just to interject a bit, in the 1960s in Uganda, the generational question at the time was, how do we as the young people of this country liberate ourselves from the fangs of colonialism and imperialism? And the question was, how do we get independence? So the question was one, didn't matter which side of the country you're in. And indeed, the young people of the time, I will mention some names like Professor Nabudere, the Chirunda Chiveidinda, the Bidandi Sali, and then later on the General Yoweri Museveni, the Kategayas, they rose up, right? They fought, they got independence. After the independence, we went through the coups, coup after coup after coup, and then again, another group of young people who felt dissatisfied with the state of affairs in the country sat down, organized themselves, and they went to the bush, and they, quote unquote, liberated the country. And here we are. I use these examples to point to you that usually there is that one or two people that will take on the mantle to galvanize the youth, those ones who believe in the cause, right? Do you think we have those youth leaders that have the BD to do that now?
In Uganda, as of now, as of today, no. Let me back my point.
Please.
If we had those leaders in Uganda as of today, I believe then we would have seen some changes in some policies, like anti-corruption. At least we would have seen, maybe actually even the corruption thing would have come to an end. If if we had at least a team of such serious people that would say, come on, we mean this and we want it to be implemented. The problem here in Uganda, why I'm saying that it can't happen as of now, is the police just shakes. let me tell you that I was at Makerere as a student, and during that time, it was fees must
fall.
Fees
must fall. In my class, me are hearing way. That was enough for us to. I mean, they're telling us one way,
yes.
but do you think we'd all go one way? We will take different directions. You get, yeah? So it's the same thing here. When the police comes on the streets to look for those people that have organized themselves to maybe to fight against something, me arresting 3 of them, was they identify their leader and put the leader in jail. They identify the other 2 whom they think these 2 are really, maybe they were the assistants to the leader, then that ends. Because when the other members that were part of the team go back to their homes, they will start thinking of what the other people in jail are going through. And then the media will make it worse. When they bring those people to court, now the media will not report what is happening in the court, but the media is going to show us what has really happened to these people's bodies, like the physical being.
Yeah, I think, please.
And that threatens many.
Just to take it from there, I think just to take it from there, I think when we are talking about organizing the young people, most of our activism, as we've been conditioned to believe, is many a time overtly aggressive, okay? But I also believe there are some protests, demonstrations, and other alternatives of expressing dissatisfaction with something in a more civilized manner, right? But now the problem is, when you look at our country, vis-a-vis what Councillor Edwin was mentioning, the breakdown of the system. Now, do you expect me, if I'm the president of this country, for kids here at Makerere to start way, and I sit? No, because I have known most of the revolutions in Africa that have ousted presidents started like that. Way, before you know it, something, one day, Kampala, the whole of Uganda is on fire.
Exactly.
You get, that's the philosophy. So, I think I'll go to Councillor Edwin, because him as the person that is now the chairman, district chairperson, okay? You lead, I want to think, how many people do you have in your constituency? Young people, if you have an estimate.
Around 1 million.
Around 1 million young people. You represent 1 million young people at the district. So, my question is, when you are attending the council meetings, okay, where you are constitutionally mandated to represent the views of the young people, and these views are not taken into consideration at the council level, at the district level, and ultimately at the national level, year in, year out. What have you done about that before? And if it is still persistent, what are you planning to do? Do we come up as young people and we organize all district youth chairpersons into one seminar and we get one resolution to move with, to deploy for the next Sanja 2026, 2031? Or are we comfortable with the status quo? Over to you, bro.
Thank you so much. It is not that all the things that we really table on council fail. There are those that we table and we push so much and they are worked upon. But I feel as the youth, in the first place, we should hold ourselves at ransom. We should hold ourselves accountable and don't be this selfish, whereby if I'm a beneficiary of corruption, then that means I must protect corruption. Because at the end of the day, you may find that corruption that you are shielding, it may affect your son.
Not may, it will.
It will.
It will.
In 10 years to come, because you will not be into that office again whereby you are practicing bribery or what. So as the youth, we must first hold ourselves at ransom. Then again, we must identify ourselves as the youth and know what is the cause, what is the problems that we are facing as the youth. How best can we navigate these problems and be onto the table. Like I said, the system, it all gets back to the system. But then we cannot every time cry about the system. be like our system has really collapsed. No, we don't have to really every time say the system has collapsed. No, but we can get few activists. I like it that yes, I'm a reader, but again I'm an activist because I was into all those strikes at Makerere. The fees must fall. The Nawangwa Gende. We've been all into those strikes, but indeed some didn't work. Yes, some didn't work, but we really pushed so hard. So I like it that we first identify ourselves and know the issues that are affecting the youth. We identify ourselves, even if actually we don't need the whole population of the youth in Uganda to really start up this.
Surely, that's true.
We don't need all that because some are beneficiaries of the challenges that youth are facing. So we need to identify ourselves, even if we are 1 million or even 50, can start up something. We have lawyers, we have advocates, we need to go on these national TVs. We educate our masses, we educate the population, the challenges that we are facing as the youth, so that we all come up as the youth and we really advocate for what we feel is right for Uganda. Again, I cannot live here minus hitting the issue of parties. Actually, one of the things that have really failed our system is that we have multi-party democracy. The moment we have multi-party democracy and most parties are into these elections, then that means most youth are going to be affiliated to certain kind of a party. I would say NRM, it is a leading government. So you expect me as Edwin to be shielding the manifestos of NRM because I'm a beneficiary. How best can we get out of that? Be like, irrespective of me being the LC5 councillor of Ntungamo district, but can I be into that, out of that docket and advocate as an activist and tackle issues that are affecting the youth other than me, myself, looking at myself as a beneficiary of the current government? I think that's how best we can get away with that.
Well, thank you so much for that response. And I think you clearly stipulate the role of the young people vis-a-vis the political party positions.
True.
Because even if you are in the national resistance movement as a young leader, there are those areas that you want to tackle as a youth yourself, outside of the mandate of the party. But now that brings up some legal technicalities. For example, you are lawyers. You very know well that taking a position that is adrift from that of the party by default will take you to the disciplinary committee. Why? Because you are being a rebel. We've seen this, and I think in the 9th Parliament we had what they call the label the rebel MPs. So, and this is a generic, conversation. Do you think our party evolution, political parties have evolved enough to actually have internal dissenting voices? Saying, Edwin, you're in NRM, however, you are not satisfied with the programs of the NRM for the youth. So you as an individual, you're mobilizing the youth of NRM in your sub-county division or district to take onto a program that is by default designed to improve the livelihoods of the youth. That would put you at loggerheads with the party. And you either might lose your next election, two, you might lose credibility in the party, and you might be labeled a mole. And because of that, as a young leader, you'll still not have access to that table that we are talking about where the national cake is shared. So because of those intricacies, and I would like to pick in 2 minutes, Miracle, do you think our democracy has evolved enough for us to disagree, right? But then agree on how to work together, regardless of the divergent opinions, ideals, and philosophies? What do you think? In just a minute or two as we wrap up.
Okay, you asked, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, so my question is, do you think our political parties, right, in our democracy for Uganda, do you think the parties have evolved enough where you can actually have internal bickerings, right? But even then, the position of the party takes center stage without having the quote-unquote rebels apprehended? I ask this question in the context of what Councillor Edwin has just mentioned, that there are some things you want to do as a youth, right? But you are subscribed to a political party that has also another engagement for the same demographic dividend we are looking at youth. Nenga Golaba, this is not working because they've tried it for 3 years. It's not worked. You have mobilized your fellow youth. You have come up with a noble idea that you think is actually going to be productive. And then this group will start looking at you as a mole, as a rebel, and counter-revolutionary. So my question is, how do we work with such unkokolas, and how do we harmonize that conundrum?
Okay. I think our democracies are still developing. There are still many issues to look at. When you look at the parties in play in our national politics, they all have different underlying issues, problems, and things that really need to be tackled, that need to be cleared so that we can really call ourselves a democratic country. But how to work with these grievances, I believe that is why the young people take to the streets, because at the end of the day, the leaders are marginalized. These leaders are, they really cannot, there is party loyalty, and there is not a lot that they can do. So I think this goes to the leaders, first of all, the leaders themselves, even leave alone the young leaders. Because at the end of the day, one thing I believe in is that if you keep on pressuring our community, if you keep on pushing to the limits, there comes a time and it will burst. There comes a time and the revolution will be birthed. So even if you correct your differences or correct your issues, well and good. But if you do not, these people will reach a time and stand up for themselves and say, chimala, whether our government can work on this, whether not, we are choosing to do this. So it's a call to the leaders. To first of all, we've echoed these many issues, we've echoed these many problems in the different parties in the Electoral Commission. Let them sideline. I think one of the candidates in the National Youth Female Race said that let the Electoral Commission come up with maybe a policy to say, if you do vote bribery, this is what is going to happen. So I think there needs to be a restructuring of all these parties in what they believe in, according to what is in play, according to what the people believe in, according to what is happening. Because like I said, at the end of the day, if you do not correct your grievances, if you do not correct these issues, these people will choose a way, either way. They will choose, because it is up to you. Yes, we say the military is in control, but yes, people can choose to spill blood, and that is not something we want to see. So I think it is a call to the leaders of these different parties to try to harmonize, to try to, harmonize the people. I think to an extent, some have tried. To an extent, some are still lagging behind. So I think it is a call to all these leaders to to figure out a way, because at the end of the day, the call is the same. If you do not, these people will actually take action into their hands.
Thank you so much for the leaders to come out with a resolution, come out with a way to harmonize, and unless that is done, youth will always look for an alternative. And we don't have very many non-violent alternatives. We sit here to advocate for young people to be peaceful. We tell young people to partake in elections from the peaceful perspective, because we do not want our country to burn down. And because of that, we don't want our country to burn down. Miracles just mentioned that we need our leaders to harmonize all the grievances of the young people and come up with a silver bullet. Peace, in 1 minute, as we wrap up. Who should the young people go to? Because we've gone to the duty bearers, we've not gotten what we wanted. Going to the ministers, the commissioners, the MPs, even the commander-in-chief. And things seem to be, what do we do? Who do we go to in a minute as we wrap up?
Thank you. You've said we've gone, and I was almost going to say I have never gone there. I mean, I don't know, has any of you people ever gone there and addressed our issues? Because now you see what the problem is. They feel that go there, claim they are representing us. But you see, once they are given chigat, once they are given money, it's an indirect way of silencing them, so they come back to you, they give you the little of what they, very little of what they've got. Should I say not actually what they've got, because it's like getting a third of what they've got and then distribute to you. 20K. They've said they will handle the issue, they're going to look into it, they've assigned me maybe to run that, but issues are not handled that way. So to me, where would we run to? Because even the constitution that would defend us, the people that are holding the constitution, the people, you know, someone was telling me yesterday that law exists, but the person that has this, that holds the power or the law decides when, how, and where to use it, and on who to use it.
Yes, please.
So, to me, where these people should go to is we only need to continue seeking for peaceful interventions, because if even at the top we've failed, maybe one day, one time, through these continuous peaceful talks and maybe consultations, we can get there.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So peace is acting, is rooting for consistency, perseverance. Like the Waganda say, kamu we Muganda. Yes. So as we wrap up, Council, you have exactly 58 seconds to tell the world what the Gen Zs are doing and ought to do to ensure that we work for the new democracy that we want in Africa, to propel our dreams, aspirations, and interests, but also most importantly, what you would want to see the duty bearers prepare for the young people in 58 seconds.
Thank you so much.
Please.
In the first place, we need to aim at personal branding. We have modeled leaders that are rooted into a manner that is not really upright. We need to be upright as leaders so that we can advocate for our young people. We know the challenges of the youth, and therefore we must identify ourselves, brand ourselves, not to involve ourselves into these issues of corruption, these issues of bribery. Even if we are affiliated to certain parties, we should stand to our values and defend our people. If we can have leaders who are modeled into such a way, we shall advocate for better means and have a better country. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Council, you talk about something very critical, the aspect of personal branding, right? Personal branding is very, very important for us, especially the young people, in this, I mentioned, the lifelong struggle we're in fighting and advocating for the new, clean, clear, and sustainable democratic dispensation in Africa. And when you talk about a clear democratic dispensation in Africa, we're not talking about just leadership, politics, you know, no. We're talking about basic things like access to clean water, youth access to sexual reproductive health and rights information, youth access to dignified employment, you know, promotion of sports and talent among the young people, both in urban centers and in rural centers. We're talking about things of upscaling young people into this new information age revolution of artificial intelligence. Let's have young people partake in artificial intelligence, partake in computer modeling languages and coding, things like augmented reality, among others. Let us be participators, not just participators, but also people that contribute directly to the body of knowledge to build our country. Let us also be used as a productive labor force to build and contribute to the quantum leap to the middle, to the higher middle income economy. Let these things not just be rhetorical. We pray that these things become actually practical and we can feel and touch them as the young people. It's been a beautiful show today. We've been discussing the Gen Zs as a force to reckon with in the new democratic dispensation across Africa, but with a specific case study of Uganda as we head into the general elections in about 2 months. Today I was joined by Miracle Nasazi, who is the Deputy Speaker, Guild Speaker of Makerere University. I've been joined by Akandwanaho Edwin, is a lawyer and also the District Councillor for Youth Councillor for Ntungamo District. I've also been joined by my sister Peace, who is a social activist and a very brilliant and passionate youth. I've been the host, and I would like to extend a token of thanks to the team behind that have been running all this. My name is Mujisha Emanzi, and I've been the host for the day. Cheers for now, and until we meet next Wednesday. God bless you for God and my country.
Youth of Purpose.